Today, we're tearing down the blueprint of something that literally affects every single one of us, the architecture of unconscious spending. Look, we're living through a period of profound economic decoupling. For decades, the middle-class logic was simple, right? If you worked hard and your wages grew, your lifestyle could expand right in tandem. But looking at the landscape for 2026, that old social contract, it's effectively expired. The rules have changed, and if we don't change with them, we risk draining our accounts without even realizing it.
Okay, let's dive into this. The recent data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics reveals a genuinely sobering reality. Look at this. The average American household saw their wages rise by a modest 3.8%. Not bad, right? But during that exact same period, consumer expenditures surged by 5.1%. You do the math there. Spending is climbing noticeably faster than earning. This isn't just some temporary statistical blip. It's a widening chasm between what things actually cost and what we can realistically afford. And honestly, it completely validates that baseline financial anxiety so many of us are feeling right now.
But as we navigate this whole new landscape, we have to acknowledge that basic inflation, that's really only half the story here. The true wealth killer of our era is a much more sophisticated predator. We're talking about the evolution of corporate pricing strategies. We've transitioned into an economy of what I call stacked convenience. Basically, this is the layering of subscription models and fees upon fees until the original value of a product is just completely smothered. We need to reframe how we look at these everyday conveniences. They aren't just harmless little luxuries anymore. They are highly engineered pricing strategies specifically designed to extract maximum dollars from your pocket for minimum value.
And, well, that brings us to a pretty hard truth. A lot of the purchases and habits we formed maybe 5 years ago, things that felt like totally reasonable concessions to a busy life, they've quietly transformed into acts of literal financial self-sabotage. The math has shifted so dramatically that continuing your old spending patterns in 2026 means you are actively working against your own financial freedom. So to understand exactly how this is happening, we're going to look at 3 major case studies where this wealth extraction is at its most aggressive.
Section 1. The convenience tax, food delivery apps.
Platforms like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub have totally rewired our relationship with food. What used to be an occasional, break glass in case of emergency solution for a chaotic night has quietly morphed into a habitual drain on our bank accounts, and the underlying economics? Absolutely brutal. These platforms charge restaurants commission fees ranging from 15 to 30% on every single order. Now, restaurants literally cannot absorb that kind of massive cost, so what do? They pass it straight to you through inflated menu prices. Studies actually show app prices run about 25% higher than in-store prices. Let's move to Idea and see how this builds. You start with a simple $12 base meal. Add that 25% markup. Then stack on the delivery fee, the service fee, maybe a small order fee, and of course, tip your driver. Suddenly, your $12 counter meal has ballooned into a $22 charge on the app. Guys, that is an 83% markup just for the convenience of someone else handing you a bag. No way, right?
And this isn't just about the $10 you lose on a random Tuesday night. It is about the devastating cumulative impact of this habit. Someone ordering delivery just twice a week at a $15 premium is spending an extra $1,560 annually just for the privilege of not driving 10 minutes. Now, if you took that exact same money and invested it at an 8% annual return, it would grow to roughly $7,800 over time. These frictionless apps and subscriptions like DashPass, they are masterfully designed to create this illusion of savings, but in reality, they're just a highly efficient wealth transfer from your pocket to corporate shareholders.
Moving on to Section 2, the status sinkhole, buying new cars.
The allure of the new car smell is incredibly powerful, but as of 2026, it is perhaps the most expensive olfactory experience in the modern world. Seriously, new cars are increasingly functioning as financial sinkholes disguised as lifestyle upgrades. Right now, the average new car price hovers right around $48,000. And here's the kicker, the very second you drive that vehicle across the threshold of the dealership lot, it loses approximately 20% of its value. That is nearly $10,000 of your hard-earned labor just evaporating into thin air before you even reach the first stoplight. By the end of year 1, depreciation typically strips away 25 to 30%. This instant drop sets up a super dangerous trap called negative equity, where you owe more on the loan than the car is actually worth, trapping you in a financial obligation you really can't easily escape.
And this brilliantly illustrates the difference in financial mindsets.
The average consumer takes on a massive loan to finance that depreciation, locking themselves into an average monthly payment of $738. But research on millionaire behavior shows a completely different approach. We'll call it the millionaire strategy. The typical millionaire just avoids the new car trap entirely. Instead, they drive reliable brands like Toyota, Honda, or Ford. They buy reliable 5-year-old utility vehicles with a median purchase price of roughly $31,000, and they often pay in cash. They understand that a 5-year-old car has already absorbed the steepest part of the depreciation curve. Yet modern engineering means it will still easily run for 200,000 miles. They treat transportation as a utility, for sure, not a status symbol.
By opting for a reliable used vehicle and completely eliminating that $738 average monthly car payment, you can redirect nearly $9,000 a year. Think about that for a second. That is $9,000 annually of free cash flow that you can channel toward actual wealth building, rather than just watching it vanish into vehicle depreciation.
Which brings us to Section 3, the experience decline, sit-down restaurants.
Dining out has historically been a wonderful thing, right? It was all about the experience, the attentive service, the culinary skill. But over the last few years, the value proposition of the restaurant industry has completely inverted. Let's look at the grim reality of the modern dining experience. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, restaurant prices have climbed a staggering 35% since 2019. A basic hamburger at a casual sit-down spot, that now costs between $16 and $22. If you're a couple going out for a modest dinner with drinks, you can easily blow past $140, literally for a meal that cost half that amount just 5 years ago. Prices have essentially doubled while portions have shrunk. And because restaurants are struggling with staffing and high costs, service quality is actively declining. Plus, you're investing 90 to 120 minutes of your time for this degraded experience.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how restaurants are actually staying afloat right now. Because their margins on food have compressed so tightly, they survive almost entirely on predatory beverage markups. A $14 martini usually uses about $2 worth of ingredients. A $4 soda costs the restaurant maybe 15 cents. And coffee? Coffee routinely sees a 2,000% markup. When you dine out habitually, you aren't really paying for culinary excellence anymore. You're heavily subsidizing the restaurant's business model through highly inflated drink prices.
So the crucial point is right here in the math. A family spending $200 weekly on dining out, which honestly is quite common in expensive markets, spends $10,400 annually. But if that exact same family committed to extraordinary at-home cooking, they could eat incredibly well for about $150 a week, or $7,200 annually. That is over $3,200 in annual savings, and frankly, the food is probably healthier and better anyway. Look, celebration meals and occasional experiences absolutely still have value, but maintaining a habitual weekly restaurant routine has just become economically irrational.
Let's look at the solution in our final section. Taking back your wealth, the defense of awareness.
The modern economy actively wants you spending unconsciously. Algorithms are specifically designed to trigger your purchases. Massive marketing budgets exist literally just to manufacture your desire. Frictionless financing options make it easier than ever to spend money you don't actually have. So, your only real defense against this highly engineered system is conscious awareness of the math. I want you to remember this quote because it perfectly captures the reality of the situation. Your money either works for corporations or works for you in 2026. The categories we've explored today, food delivery, new cars, habitual dining out, they aren't inherently evil. The goal isn't to say you should never spend money on things you enjoy. The ultimate key to reclaiming your financial freedom is breaking the trance of unconscious spending. It's about understanding what things actually cost, understanding what they are genuinely worth to you, and consciously minding the gap between those two numbers.
So I want to leave you with this one simple thought to reflect on as you go about your day and make your next purchase. Look at the habits you've built over the last 5 years, look at exactly where your dollars are flowing, and ask yourself honestly, who is your money working for today?